Crafters Countdown, and today we're going to do a little bit of crafting for a holiday that's coming up. And I've got my cousin Colleen here. Hi. She's going to tell us a little bit about the Kindness Rock Project.
The Kindness Rock Project was started by a lady whose parents died, and she would walk the beach, and when she would find a heart-shaped rock, she would think of her father. When she would find a piece of colored glass, she would think of her mother. And so she was going to walk the beach one day, and she grabbed a marker that was laying on the counter, didn't know why, and put it in her pocket, and then proceeded to write on a couple of rocks and leave them around. And one of her friends actually found one who did not know she was doing it, and she was so inspired by the happiness that it brought to her friend that she started doing it and created what is now known as the Kindness Rock Project.
We started our adventure at a park in Red Bluff, California. The city was so supportive of the Kindness Rock Project that they sectioned off an area for a designated rock garden. These little gardens are popping up all over with their signs to take one for inspiration, share one for motivation, and leave one to help our garden grow. Your first step to get started is to gather some rocks. It is very important to make sure that you have permission to take the rocks if you're on someone else's property or public land. This park next to the Sacramento River has given rockers permission as long as the rocks are never sold. So Colleen dressed for the warm weather, grabbed her bucket, and headed out. The weather was perfect and the river is absolutely beautiful. It will be a toss-up to see what is more enjoyable, collecting them or getting to paint them. We found a great collection of medium-sized, smooth rocks that seemed perfect for painting. I really enjoy checking out the rocks that nature has already painted. Sometimes Colleen is inspired by an odd-shaped rock that she wants to turn into something specific. If you know me, you'll know that if there's a body of water, my feet will soon be bare and in it. Once our bucket was full, we headed back to Colleen's house to get them ready to paint. The first step is to get the rocks nice and clean. I put the rocks in a plastic dish tub. This helps protect the sink. I then add warm water, a little dish soap, and a little tiny bit of bleach. These rocks from the river area weren't horribly dirty, so we only let them soak for about an hour. When Colleen collects rocks from a nearby field, she lets them soak for about 24 hours, or at least overnight. Next, give each rock a good scrub. You may want to wear gloves in case your hands are sensitive to the bleach. After the rocks are scrubbed clean, they need to be rinsed. You want to get all of the soap, bleach, and any stuck-on dirt off of your rocks. When the weather is good, it's best to find a clean, sunny place to let your rocks dry. You can see I have a little curious helper here. With the warm sun and slight wind, you can see how quickly the rocks are drying. They should be ready to turn over in about 20 minutes. Of course, in the winter, in most places, outdoor drying is just not practical. If you plan ahead, you can just let them dry naturally, maybe near a heater or a fireplace. If you need to expedite their drying, you can preheat your oven to 375 degrees, then turn the oven off, place your rocks on the racks, and when you close the door, leave just a slight crack so the moisture can evaporate. You should absolutely never place your rocks in the microwave. There's risk that they could explode. Plus, you don't know if there may be any metals in your rocks. If you're using the outside method, turn them over after about 20 minutes and let them dry another 20 minutes. Once your rocks are completely dry, you can put your base coat on. Take a look at your rocks and decide which side you want to decorate and which side will be the bottom. Some people put a base coat on the bottom also, but many save both time and paint and only put the base coat on the tops of their rocks. Okay, so we've got our rocks sprayed
and ready to put the labels on the bottom. Now labels can come in different forms. One of the things you can do is take labels and put your rock club's name on them using the hashtag, of course, to help people find you on Twitter and Facebook or any other social media that you use. So we'll go ahead and cut out one of these labels. And then I'll square it up, and then I'm going to go ahead and put my initials on it and the date. If you're going to use a paper label, then what you'll want to do is take a little bit of Mod Podge and a paintbrush, and you're going to put just a little bit of this on your rock. Now this stuff dries quickly, so you want to rinse out your paintbrush as quickly as possible, but it also means you don't have to wait very long when you're working with your rock. Okay, and then put the label on top of it, and then go ahead and seal it with a little bit more Mod Podge.
Another option for the labels is to write directly on the back of the rock.
You want to be careful if you're going to try to use Sharpies or magic markers when you're putting the label on the back, because those can bleed when you put the top coat on. So you want to put a little bit of Mod Podge on top of them so that they don't smear or bleed. Okay? Another option is to use these wonderful little paint markers. Because these have paint inside of them, you can kind of hear it's got a little marble inside so that it shakes up the paint. So you want to give it a little shake. And then if it's not flowing properly, this nib will poke in just a little bit. So you can poke it on a piece of scratch paper or something to start getting the paint flowing. And then we're going to write on here, please post pic on Facebook. I don't care for my writing. I would probably make my labels just a little bit larger and not write this at all. But some people have really nice writing. Alright, so please post a photo on Facebook. Okay, now that we have our rocks done, we're going to take them outside and go ahead and put our base coat on the other side. And since these are for Mother's Day, we're going to make them really pretty colors.
I understand the choice to use spray paint for an even coat and to get your rocks done quickly. Personally, I try to avoid aerosols to be kind to our earth. These would also not be the best choice in inclement weather or if children are helping. Using a brush and acrylic paint is not only better for the planet, it will help smooth out the pith marks in your rocks. Once that dries, you're ready for the top coat on the label side. You want to do this before you decorate the top, just to be sure not to scratch, chip, or stick anything to your artwork. An upcycled egg carton is an excellent holder if you're going to spray your rocks. Colleen uses a non-yellowing spray which takes 2 to 3 coats. You can find this spray in extra thick for 1 coat coverage. Of course, you can also avoid aerosol sprays and use a brush-on lacquer.
Okay, we've got the base coat on the front for the solid, and then we've gone ahead and put the base coat on the back and made sure that we put the top coat on there so that it's sealed. And now we get to paint, and it's such a lovely spring day, I thought we'd do it outside. Okay, so I finished this Mother's Day rock, and then here are a couple more that I've done. The next step that we want to do is a layer of Mod Podge over the top of them, because that will make them shiny and just help seal them just a little bit. It also intensifies the color just a skosh. So we'll quickly cover these. Okay, we finished with our layer of Mod Podge on these. So our next step will be to spray on that last top coat, and then we get to hide them.